How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. We are going over a requested video from a little while back. Somebody asked if I could show how I would desensitize an animal to petting. I've tried to do this a few times and it just didn't work out, so I thought I'd just do it here at the desk. And I'm going to be using one of Hermie's favorite toys that he stole from me. As you can, I don't know if you can see, there's nibble bites on this little guy. For those that remember TYs, like the original TY Beanie Babies, shout out to you. So the person who reached out, they have a Shiba named Toby that they adopted or rescued at 2 years old, I believe. Hi, Herms. Hi. You know I have your favorite toy? He must know I have his favorite toy, so I'm just going to borrow it, and then he will hide it back under the bed again. Let me just borrow it for a second. So if I were to be working with a dog that is sensitive touching around the neck and the head and the throat area, as it seems that Toby is not really comfortable with touching, and he actually gets to the point where he will bite, and I think he's broken the skin before. So we want everyone to be safe. So first off, if you're working with your pup and you're worried that they are going to bite or they've made contact with the skin before, I always recommend that you first get them conditioned to wearing a basket muzzle. There's many different brands out there. If I'm going to spend money on one, I like a good quality one. A lot of times you can get them from Etsy. You can support a small shop. You can get a Baskerville basket muzzle from a lot of pet stores. But spend good money and get a properly fitting one. And the reason why I like a basket muzzle is because it prevents, it covers the whole front of the mouth. It's nice and sturdy. It allows your dog to pant and snap and drink and take treats and whatnot. But it's protected, so they can't, get to you. But that being said, that doesn't mean that we take advantage of our little ones when they have their basket muzzle on or any muzzle on. So I'm going to leave a link, a couple of links in the description below. One of Kiko Pup, showing a demonstration of how to muzzle train your pet, and also one showing a demonstration of how I showed Adonis getting used to one. So just a couple of different options there for you for getting your dog used to that. Once your dog is really comfortable and properly conditioned to that, and they feel comfortable in it, they're not trying to paw it off or anything like that, they're not getting more stressed, then we can move on to step 2 of desensitizing your pup. So if I'm working with a dog, whether they have a basket muzzle on or not, say in either case, this little guy does. Either way, it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to treat them the same, whether they have a muzzle on or not. Which means that at any slight sign that they show that they're uncomfortable, I'm going to relieve pressure, which means I'm going to relieve pressure of petting. This is like stimulation, and I'm going to remove myself or relieve them of my spatial pressure. So I use pressure and release a lot, when working with fearful animals or prey animals. So in this case, we have this little doggy. He just comes up to here, comes up to me. He's got his little basket muzzle on. He's fine. He's comfortable. And he's just sitting next to me. I'm going to let him know first that I'm going to be petting him. I'm going to be, working with him. So first I will, I would normally be working on the inside, but just so you guys can see, we'll do it this way. So as if I were on the inside, meaning I don't want to reach over the dog to pet him on the opposite side just yet. So if he comes over, he sits, he's got a little muzzle on, he's comfortable, he's cool. And then I say, hey buddy, and I come over and I want to go for the shoulder, not for the face or the head. I want to go for the shoulder or maybe just behind the neck. And if he goes over to sniff me, I'm going to let him sniff me. He says, okay. And by saying okay, he can move his head away. Then I give him a little scratch on the shoulder. And then maybe I take my hand away. And he says, okay, that's cool. Then I go back again, scratch him a little bit. So this would be an example of pressure or stimulation, scratching in a spot he likes, he's comfortable with. And this is release, or I'm stopping the stimulation. I can go pet him again and take my hand away. Then I go back, and this is with timing. I scratch for just this long, a couple seconds, and then I stop. And I go back a couple seconds, and maybe this time, you can see it, I'm scratching him on the shoulder, and I go a little bit up to his neck and then back down to the shoulder, and then I stop. Or I might just go from the shoulder a little bit up the neck and then I stop. And the whole time I'm watching for his body language. He can turn his little ear towards me, which says, hey, I'm focusing on you behind my neck. I'm aware of you. He can turn his little head to me, he can turn his whole body to me while I'm petting him. And if he does either of those, if he does more than just a little ear, if his, little ear, more than just his ear turns back, so if he turns his head to me while I'm petting his head, or the back of his neck, or his whole body turns to me, I'm going to relieve pressure and say, okay, I'm working too fast. So my goal is to be able to do this, and he doesn't move. He or she, because that tells me that they are comfortable with what I'm doing, or they don't feel so threatened that they want to see what I'm doing. So my goal is that they don't react to it at all. If it looks like you're doing nothing at all, you're doing it right. I always tell my clients that. Over time, you screech them a little bit, and you can move your way up to the top of the head. Or around the ears a little bit. If I'm working with horses or dogs or kitties, I always get them used to having just their little ear. Whenever I would go over and say hello to Adonis, I would pet his little face, I'd give him a kiss on the top of his head, and I would always rub the inside of the ear and give just the tiniest little pressure pulling upward, just to feel for any kind of like ticks or bites or anything that might be in his ears. And one time I did find a tick. I think Adonis only had one tick in his entire life in his little ear. Because I do that regularly, checking his body, making that a normal habit, he's comfortable with it. And I was able to find a tick and prevent it from, the situation from getting worse. So with Mr. Toby, while he's muzzled, you just practice this. And you want to practice petting him and going up to his sensitive spot and then leaving before he feels the need to react or look at you. Over time, when you can really pet him and he's pretty comfortable with it, then you can remove the muzzle and see how he does without the muzzle. If he reacts or he shows teeth or he gets up and moves away, don't follow him. Relieve that pressure and say, okay, we need to go slower. We need to teach. Maybe we need to pair this with some food. If he's not a resource guarder, meaning that he is protective over food or toys or bedding. If he comes up to you and gets in your space and then starts growling at you, then I would say I would walk away from him. He may think that he's doing the right thing by coming up to you, but then he feels trapped and he doesn't know that he can leave. So I would just get up and walk away. If he comes over and growls, you can also take a treat and toss it away from you. Again, that is if he doesn't get overexcited when you have food around. And for overall management, I would make sure that he's not up on the couch with you or up on the bed with you, but he has his own special spot while you're training with him until he really gains that trust with you and you gain his trust. Until you gain his trust and he trusts you, where he can be back up on surfaces with you. Because if he's with you like this, it's more of a trap point. So you always want to be aware of trap points, whether you're stuck in a corner or there's a lot of, furniture around, you can't get away easily. Dogs will get themselves into a sticky situation and they don't realize they can get out of it. I had an Australian Shepherd that I worked with for a few years, and she thought the right answer would be to run up to me when she was excited and go belly up. But as soon as you went to go pet her, she would growl and then she would snap at you. So after I learned that, then when she would come up and go belly up, I would ignore her and I would just sit there and I would wait for her to get up and leave on her own, and then I would toss a treat. Or I would stand there, toss a treat, she would go for it, and then there we go. After a few repetitions, she learned, oh, when I'm excited, I don't have to come over here and do that. She could just go into her little pen, her comfort area, or her bed, and I would just toss a treat to her there. And when she was calm, then I could interact with her. So it's just, it just takes time. Reading your dog, being able to... It's rather difficult not having a live demonstration here. But either way, my goal will be petting them and they're not reacting any more than this little stuffed animal guy is. That's my goal, is to be able to scratch them in a spot they like and not go for the face right away and slowly work your way up to the sensitive areas. That's kind of really what there is to it. I mean, I hope to have a demonstration, maybe working with some shelter dogs here soon. And I can show you how I work with them like that. But in the meantime, I hope this helps. Please let me know if you have more questions, and I hope to have better, better examples for you. But thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you all are doing well. Say hello to your little critters. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. And until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.